broadcast on our social media channels.
Good.
I figured
that's perfectly fine.
unless you're must-see TV, and you know, maybe I'll turn that on then halfway through.
No, I don't think we're that interesting.
No.
The recording will begin in about 1 minute, and just so everything you say from that point on will be on the record.
It's good to know.
Yeah. No sidebar conversations or jokes.
I can offer some tips.
For the public that would like to join the meeting.
Might want to stay muted, Katie.
I know, right? He's gonna need to be censored,
Yes.
not us.
Too bad there's not a mute button for David.
Seriously. Nobody responded to say that they didn't get the invite, so I assume everybody received it.
Yeah, I did not hear from anyone.
Yeah, after you sent out the invite, Brian, I sent an email to all the members saying you should have received an invitation from Brian Wheeler. And if you didn't, let me know. But I didn't hear from anybody, so.
I think some people get so many Zoom invites that sometimes they just lose them in their inbox too. So.
Hello, Krista and Julia.
Hey. Hello.
Hi, Crystal. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
So who else may come? We got I feel like most everyone. We'll start in just a second. I think this will be most everyone. Jody's going to join a little bit later, but I do need to just remind my family to be quiet because I hear a lot of noise all of a sudden. So I'm just going to do that real quickly. And I'll be right back.
I wish I could convince my dogs of that. Somehow I get on Zoom and they start barking like.
So Katie, is Tina going to join, or do you want me to try to take minutes?
No, Tina was not planning to join.
Okay.
I wasn't, so I don't know how this would work. Like I could take minutes, or we could record them. Is there a way to like record the meeting and send it to her? That she can do the minutes?
This
Brian,
is
do you know?
Yep, this is Brian Wheeler. If I haven't met you before, I'm the city's Director of Communications, and this is how we do our public meetings in the city. This meeting is being recorded. The video will be available immediately afterwards at charlottesville.gov/streaming. So anyone could look at the video, public or otherwise, to take minutes or do whatever you'd like.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
That should work.
Yeah, I'll just send her an email when we're done and let her know it's available there.
And right now you don't have any public attendees. As Katie and I have talked about, it is a public meeting, so we have to advertise it that way. And so somebody could join the webinar if they wanted to just see what was going on, and they will show up on the attendee panel if you're looking at the participants list. So there's a separate tab for that. I won't be participating. I'll just be in the background if you have any technical issues or questions, but I hope you have a good meeting.
Thanks, Brian. All right, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Did everybody have a chance to look at the agenda and the meeting notes from way back when we actually met in person? Does the agenda look okay? Go ahead and approve that and the notes. And so I thought we did add a little bit to the agenda just to kind of talk about service provision during COVID. So I don't know if you guys want to, that might come out in other areas, that's fine. But we can go ahead and start with our usual FAFT updates.
Do you want to do that, Julia?
Okay. Yeah, so how long have we been, we're doing it electronically for a long time. It's only been in the last 6 weeks.
Oh yeah, it's been more than that, I think.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 months we've been doing it virtually.
By Zoom.
Going really well.
Yeah, including having some parents join us. In some ways, it's a lot more efficient because we don't have as much the waiting time. Seems like we're not having quite as much discussion, for better or for worse, as well. But I think that folks seem to be getting their needs met. Obviously, a lot of needs out there and a lot of considerations about what can be done in person in terms of services and special economic circumstances. So we're not questioning as much in terms of, is it sustainable?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, having it virtually has made it a lot easier for people, like family members, to attend. So I think like whenever, we start meeting in person again, maybe it's something we could continue to offer. I do think we've been seeing a lot of like hotel requests
And rent.
More so lately. I feel like the hotels than what we would normally see. I don't know if there's any other kind of trends that you've picked up on, Julia, but that one seems to be like, we seem to see hotel requests every week, I feel like.
Yeah.
So a lot of housing problems And I don't know if that's due to COVID or other things that are going on.
I would say it is because a number of those are also they lost their job because of COVID. So
Right.
a lot of them are actually acknowledging that. I don't know that I'm seeing necessarily other trends. I mean, there's always the, food and the occasional electric or, other kinds of bills. There are fewer requests for transportation, car repair stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think it's going well.
Yeah, me too. I would agree.
Krista?
So I can talk about the,
I was just saying, go
I can
ahead.
talk about the
Yeah.
county. Okay. We were meeting electronically up until I think the last week in July, and we went virtual. I know our meeting room is tied up with voter registration and some things, at least through the end of November. So we decided we needed to go virtual. And it's been going really well, pretty smooth. We have a lot of parents who are joining us. We haven't really seen a lot of requests for hotels, but we have seen, we've been doing some supplement for like electric and bills where people have had to cut their hours or have lost their jobs for COVID. We did just choose a new chair, which is Erica Jenny John, and I'm her backup. So yeah, I think virtual, it actually does go a little faster, I believe, than a regular FAT.
There's no papers to pass around and wait for people to sign and all of that. So
Yeah. Jennifer, was there anything you thought of that I may have missed?
I don't think so. Other than, like you said, I feel like the participation by parents has been good, considering that, it's sort of switched this way. So I think it's been good.
All right. CSA Coordinator update.
I don't know that we have a whole lot.
Yeah.
Nothing major going on that I can think of. We did just, OCS sent out a memo today with a guidance document regarding UR. And I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I was thinking that's probably something like Jennifer and Cheryl and I will look at together, and just to see, are there things that we might want to do differently, or are there things we are doing that we need to incorporate into our policy? So we'll probably be sitting down maybe and looking at that, depending on what it says. Especially since we have our audits coming up in the next few years. I think the county is next year, and then we're the year after that.
Yep. There was actually several memos that came out, some guidance with like private day, but again, I haven't had a chance to review them. So I know that's something that we'll need to take a look at all those different memos and see what's what. I think that's it.
All right.
And I don't know if we said this out or not, but they delayed the service gap survey implementation. So we haven't heard any more about when we would need to do that again. We were supposed to do it back in the spring, but as soon as we hear something, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I can imagine that would look really different now.
Sure.
So do you guys want to talk to us about any updates from your agencies that you think would be helpful for everyone to know? And maybe that'll be related to COVID or maybe not.
I will say that we just got access, or we're about to get access. We got approved for the grant, an emergency grant through the Csa Foundation for $10,000 to help out families involved in the system, particularly with things related to COVID. So cell phones, webcams, laptops, iPads, different things like that. So if you know of anyone who is involved with the court who needs something, we also, I think, are going to get some gift cards for food or for clothes to help out families.
That's great.
I guess I would just share from Region 10. We did lose one of our parent partners. She decided not to come back from furlough. So right now we only have one person acting in that role. And I think because we're losing the grant that we had, it ends, it's either going to be at the end of this month, or they might have given us a little longer, a little extension maybe to the end of the year. But because of that, we're doing all fee for service. We're just going to be kind of on hold to recruit another position. But we do still have the one person, and I don't think that person's going to be able to solely meet the needs of our ICC, and we've also kind of looked at other ways to support families that aren't also receiving ICC too. So that'll still be kind of a wait and see workforce and capacity for that particular role.
Anything from the schools? I'm sure it's a really interesting and exciting and all those words that you want to use, Suzanne.
It's been a lot of fun, yes. As you guys know, we're pretty much virtual except for just a few groups. We're inviting certain kids back from those groups. We probably have about 80 kids that are coming into different buildings. It's been interesting. Our views and some of the parents' views have been very different on what is necessary, but we're trying to meet those kids that just can't access anything virtually. So that's the goal. So we're just moving along, waiting. I'm very ready for September 8th to be here so that we can kind of see how it's going to go, see what's going to happen. So that's kind of where we are.
Of the private day schools open for students? Are they doing some virtual?
Yeah, some of them are opening, like VIA is doing 2 days on a week. Some are doing more virtual. Some are having 1 day or 2 days. It just depends on which school you're talking about as to whether or not and how much they're opened. We are doing a little bit of transition from alternative back to day, but it's really kind of hard not physically having them be able to go to back to their base schools. But we are starting some on virtual learning through their base school, just so that when and if we ever open again, they'll be up with the class and be part of that class right from the beginning to try to smooth that over. So each school is kind of doing something different. I know for sure what VIA is doing. I can't tell you exactly what Elk Hill or Keys are doing because Tim actually works more with them, so he could tell us. But I know they're open at least part-time. So, yep, that's it. We are, just so you do know, we are going to start testing kids. We are about 180 kids behind who have been requesting testing or reevals or whatever. And so it's a priority for the team. So they've outfitted some office space where they've got the clear plastic and they've got the masks and they've got all that ready so that they can pull in one individual student at a time to try to make that up. So if you have any kids that are under your area that you're waiting to see if they qualify. That is a priority these nine weeks, to try to get as much of that done as possible. So now that's it. Unless you guys have questions.
Anyone else for any updates?
Okay, we're plugging along.
For Charlottesville DSS, we actually had been working on this for a while, but it's only just happening now. We took one of our foster care positions that because of low foster care numbers, which is a great thing, we're repurposing it to what I'm calling a peer navigator position. And the idea behind this is to really assist parents who are working their return home goal to hopefully reunite with their child or children. So kind of that peer model that's being used in lots of other settings like Region 10 and on our own and things like that. It's something that we had learned about from Washington, DC, and they have a whole unit that works with their child welfare families. And we're hoping that it will really help with that, as our reunification statistics are not that good for Charlottesville. So we have posted that, and I got 151 applications for it. Of course, not everybody was had what we were looking for. We were really advertising for lived experience and some type of child welfare exposure. So we are starting to do interviews for that next week. So I'm really excited. I'm hoping it's gonna be something that the clients will really be able to utilize and help with that goal. All right. If nobody else has updates, we just wanted to talk in general about service provision, and just wanted to let you guys talk to each other about anything that we would need to know, anything that's working well or not working well, or any type of need because of COVID that has changed service provision that you wanted to make sure everyone knew about. Really just COVID in general, like anything that you think would be helpful to discuss, ask questions about, or kind of notify each other about.
We were expecting more of a problem with childcare and foster parents that need to go work in person and all, and without as many openings available in school being virtual, we were concerned that was going to be more of an issue. And so we were trying to brainstorm about education pods and respite, day respite and everything. And surprisingly, that has not been as much of a need. We were also concerned when the pandemic started that we'd have a lot more disruptions with the stress level and the unknowns and the disruptions of supervised visits and all. And surprisingly, that has not happened. So we've got a lot more resilience out there than we were expecting, given the massive unknown situation. So I'm not entirely sure how families are getting around it. I think we have definitely taken advantage of some of the YMCA and some of the childcare positions and other opportunities. But so, yeah, if you have any additional resources for when it starts hitting the fan next week, then let me know. We're still wanting to have those resources on hand.
One area that we've been impacted is with hospitalizations and residential placements. And like right now, we have a kid that we identified as needing a higher level of care 2 months ago. And we're doing a nationwide search for a potential placement. it's just, the programs are just hesitant to take kids, and for various reasons. And even if they are taking kids, if you have a really high needs kid, they may or may not be able to staff it sufficiently. So yeah, that's concerning, for some of our families with these kids that have the most challenging behaviors, is just the struggle that we're having getting supports. And they're very hesitant to use emergency rooms because the likelihood of actually being hospitalized is that much lower too. So even in a crisis.
So are they coming up with a plan if they're not hospitalizing?
Our community providers, that we're working with in the child and family arena, I think are really doing a good job.
Mhm.
Just, their willingness to be in the homes at this point, to take those risks. So right now that community capacity seems comfortable. And I hope it continues. But we might stretch that capacity if we have more and more families facing these situations. So yeah, so I think it's the community-based providers and the wraparound supports that we are able to bring to bear are really helping in those situations. But we all know that there's probably going to be a limit to that.
Anything else that you think would be helpful? Reach out to know.
We've been doing virtual probation basically, which is really odd. But we've been doing it based on the youth's risk level. We started out doing pretty much everyone virtually, or seeing them by video, unless they were high risk and had some significant needs. And then we had to make safety arrangements to actually see them in person. And we went from just rotating with one PO in the office each day and everyone teleworking, to bringing 2 back in. And then just this week, we went back to having a full staff in the office. But we're still doing a lot of the virtual probation based on like the COVID numbers. But we've been able to keep a lot of kids out of detention. It hasn't been a huge issue as far as kids getting into a lot of trouble during this time, which is a really good thing, or at least none that we know of. I know a lot have been doing virtual services, telehealth, virtual community service. And actually, I think Community Attention's been doing a lot of the virtual community service for us. And it's a lot of helping parents out with chores and things around the house. And I think it's really created some closer relationships between youth and parents. So I think there's several things that we can take from what we've been doing and keep going with them in the future.
Hi, Jody.
Hey, sorry.
No, you're fine. We were just going over kind of like what service provision is like with COVID, just kind of talking about challenges and anything that you think others should know about concerning services for our population, things like that. So if you want to give it, and we already did updates from partner agencies. So if you wanted to give any update from the school, feel free.
Krista, were you done? I'm sorry. I feel like I interrupted.
Yep, I'm done.
So I'm a little frazzled. I just came from a very long meeting. So we are gearing up. Kids come back virtually a week from yesterday, so Tuesday. So it's, you know, a little hectic. All our teachers are back. The adults are definitely, vibrating is what I will say. I'm just ready for the kids to come back virtually or otherwise at this point, because there's a lot of, I think, which I'm sure everybody has probably been experiencing for a long time, but like the what if game. What if this happens? What if that happens? And you're like, I don't, we deal with it when the kids are with us in person. So we're just going to have to manage that if it happens virtually. So I think the city schools has as good a plan as we feel like we can have. Kids are, there's different schedules depending on if kiddos are in elementary or middle or high. We are working with Boys and Girls Club and YMCA for virtual, well, they'll be in person, both at Walker or Buford. Those are the two sites that we have partnerships with. And as well as Abundant Life and City of Promise. So there are safe places for a number of kids to go whose parents are working, or there's just a need for support, because if any of you have kids in school and have tried to manage the virtual world of classroom, I have an advanced degree, and sometimes I'm like, I don't actually know what to do on that. So hold on, we will get help for you. So we are doing things in case, you have families who are navigating. We do have things on our website, like training to help parents navigate Canvas, which is the platform that we are using K-12. In the spring, we were using different things for different grade levels, and we've moved over to one to try and make it easier. I think we are trying to help parents apply for daycare. So sorry, DSS, but you may see, and I'm sure you already haven't seen an increase, but we're, in order to use YMCA for some of our families, they need a lot of support. We've had to switch how we deliver services like threat assessment, both for threat to others and suicide risk assessment. We can't do that virtually. So we have plans in place about what to do if a kiddo is made a threat. But that also involves needing to rely on our community partners, then things that we could do screening wise. We don't have the technology one that's, confidentially compliant, but more so we want those kids, if they need to be seen quickly and reliably. So we potentially will be sending more kids, or, in concert with calling Region 10, or just relying on our partners even more than we typically do, because we already rely on you guys all the time. But I think at this point, we are sort of as set up as we feel like we can be. We did get a grant to hire 5 clinical social workers, which we are really excited about. So if anybody knows anybody who's interested in a job, the positions are posted and we can hire as soon as we have applicants to hire. So we know that mental health is going to be, we're concerned about what our kids and families will be looking like and feeling. So that's where we're at. And I think, Suzanne, I don't know where the county's at, but we are every 9 or after 9 weeks, or in time for 9 weeks, we'll be reassessing about will we still remain virtual, or will we be looking at a hybrid plan? I think we're aligned with the county.
We're the same with that. For the kids that we did choose to have come in, we also at the 4.5 week mark are going to relook at some of those, just to see if the kids we left virtual are actually able to assess or access the curriculum that we're trying to do over Zoom and whatnot. So, yeah.
And our SPED department is still making plans for how all of our SPED kids will be served, who will, what will be, or who will be face-to-face and what that looks like. And so,
Yeah.
that's where we're at. Sorry,
Yep.
I feel like I just threw up on everybody, but that's,
That's
question,
good.
happy to answer them. I just feel like I just running on a high all the time.
Jody, it's just never changing and ever changing. It's what I knew 3 days ago changed again. It's just, we're just trying to be as flexible as possible and trying to help the kids the best we can in a tough situation. So, yeah.
So for Jody and Suzanne, is there anything that as a partner agency, like we can do to assist? I mean, I feel like right now, like the burden is really on the schools, given just the situation that we have. And you guys may have heard that nobody's really calling in reports to DSS lately. So our
I did hear that. I heard it that the schools are the ones who usually call. So
yes, and so since those children have not been there, it's been a little bit slow. And I've hired one new social worker for foster care, and I'm actually set to hire another one. And my foster care caseload is down. Not that I want you to share that with the powers that be. But I am looking for literally looking for work for them to do. And so I was wondering if there was any particular outreach opportunities. I'm not trying to drum up business. That is not my goal here. I'm not trying to find problems. I literally was wondering if there was anything that we could be doing to support kids in school and just the tough situation.
I do worry, Jenny, what we're going to see when we get the kids back on virtual. I think that your phone calls might increase. Actually, I know last spring we had a virtual situation that we had to report to DSS, which you wouldn't think would happen virtually, but it does. So I think there'll probably be more of a need. Anybody who's working with any of our school kids and their families, just reaching out. I might call a parent for something odd, just a quick question, and I get 30 minutes of their fears and their anxieties and what's happening. And I'm happy to listen, but I think there's some people out there, some parents who are just so overwhelmed that I worry about all of them. It's just, it's a hard thing, and we're trying to do the best we can for our kids. But there's a whole nother world in their homes that, are pretty tough too.
Jenny, I don't know if it's possible. I know that we are, and especially I think it's ramping up because virtual learning starts or remote learning starts on Tuesday. The childcare situation is starting to feel pretty, I think it's going to start to feel pretty dire because while we do have a pretty awesome option between YMCA and Boys and Girls Club, we were told, or somebody was told and then reached out to me that there's up to 30 days for DSS to process the child care applications, which I know is that's just standard, but I anything to massage some of that. Because again, 30 days puts us into, well into late September. Families cannot afford YMCA is $200 a week. And again, for the PSSF grant, which I, again, just want to thank everybody that the schools can access that. At this point, I could pay for 10 kids for 9 weeks of virtual learning. The school system has over 4,000 kids, and I know the county has a gazillion times more than that, right? So that's just, it comes down to either I have to decide who asks me first, and then if we go beyond 9, it's just that's not manageable. And I am trying on my end to talk to like, who can we make a deal with the YMCA? Like if City Schools is going to pay for a kid, is there a lower rate? They have scholarships, they have rates. Like if you make less than, between 30,000 and 50,000, it's $100. But even that's not affordable for many of the families that are starting to feel really desperate. The Boys and Girls Club has a wait list. They've had a wait list since they essentially opened up, like because it was whoever was already going, that was the number of kids, and they're trying to find staff. So it's not that they don't want to help more, it's just that they're in that. So there's a part of me that's like, if you have staff who could helping strategize like a safe place for my third grader to be, so I don't have to quit my job. Because I think what's going to potentially happen is we will have families who currently have housing, have food, who will be put in a position that they don't have a place for their kid to be, and they will quit their job and lose their housing. And then it's just like, because whatever summer plans they've had, people are piecemealing together and they've figured things out, but it's not going to work once the expectation of school hits. And I think on the school end, we've talked about, attendance, and we now have to take attendance, and we're trying to be realistic but flexible. But also if a family says like, I leave my first grader home alone all day, then we will be in a position of having to call you guys, which we would like to be proactive and avoid that. So I wonder if there's a way for us to partner. And I realize at some point you may say like, no, actually, we don't have the time to do that because our caseload went up, which I also hope that doesn't happen. But I wonder if that's a way to prevent your loads from going up. I don't know. That would be the one way that I could see like some concrete help, because I think our calls are already starting about how do we pay for it, and where can my kiddo go?
Right. I think that's a great idea. I think we could definitely assist with that now.
Okay.
It's just our issue is that we don't have any knowledge of who these kids are, right?
Right.
So we're definitely working with the ones that are in foster care or the prevention kids and working with those families. But I just don't think people are going to call us about the other issues. I'll check on. I know that our benefit team is like prepared to take applications, and I know that that's going very well. I don't know like how long it actually takes. I do think the 30 days is just the standard response, but I don't know that that's what our process time actually is. So I can check on that part to see like how long it actually takes.
And that comment was, I agree with you. I think they were just saying like, it can take up to 30 days. I don't think anybody was dragging their feet. I think the reaction I got was like, it's gonna be 30 days. I was like, oh, it's okay. Like, we'll figure it out. But I think it was.
Yeah, Marianne, I don't know if you know like how long it takes you guys. I just know that we have multiple people working on it right now. So I'd be surprised if it took the full amount of time.
And does anybody know, so like if a family is not already, like they're not working with anybody from VIEW, but they are working, like, with CARES money and all of the other, special circumstances, would they potentially still qualify for a daycare subsidy because school is not, right? Like they need a place for their child to be that's safe, or are they not going to qualify because they have a school age child? And like, is that somebody who we should, I mean, we're just telling people apply and see what happens.
That's what I always say too. I was trying to pull up because I felt like I just got an email about this. Just trying to look at my email real quick.
I think somebody sent me, somebody forwarded me something that seemed helpful, but I did not. It was from the Child Care Subsidy Program.
Yes, that's what it's called. And I felt like it was kind of covering the situation you were just talking about, which is why they're saying to just go ahead and apply.
Okay. Okay.
So are
well,
you
we will
saying the
just-
parents are working, but they're at home, or you said, what are you?
No, I was just asking. Oh, I just totally did something bad with my Zoom. That, you know, typically that these are families that would not be applying for the child care subsidy because their kids are in school, but they actually need childcare for during the school day. And so what we're encountering is some parents who are like, I don't qualify because my child is in school. And we keep saying, apply. These are like, we're living in a very bizarre time, and school is on a computer. Like, yes, there's a teacher present, but that teacher is not providing in-person physical supervision, which is what school, when you're actually at school, provides.
Right. But the parents are home.
You know, I mean, like, correct. The parent is not home. That, like, these parents are working.
No, that's what I was asking, because if the parents are working, then I would think they would qualify.
Right. Whereas typically, if a parent is working during the day when their kid's at school, I don't know if they would, or that maybe they would qualify for after, like child.
They would qualify for after school.
Right, right. So I think some of it's trying to convince parents that like, this is very different.
Yes, yeah.
And you should apply. Okay.
Yeah, my
I feel like
Outlook
that's
isn't working well.
Aaron, I can just.
I pulled it up. And there's like view TANF, and then there's free childcare. It just says assistance with childcare costs need to be an approved activity, employment, or education. Requires a co-payment. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does now.
5 to 10% of parents' income or something.
I feel it was something like, I was in a meeting. What did they say? It can't pay for school-based school enrichment type program,
Right,
but it
right.
can pay for childcare. So if they are at a place and they are doing school, that is fine. It can be paid for.
And this is definitely at a place providing childcare while school is
then I
being
think it should
provided.
my memory is from that, then that should qualify.
Yeah, because YMCA is
Come and all
definitely
that.
childcare.
Yes, yes, then that should work.
Okay, then we'll just keep trying to encourage
Keep
people
sending them.
to apply.
Yeah, just keep sending them.
Okay. Jenny, is there somebody, after you think about it, if you want to send me an email, if there are people who like could strategize with families about other childcare options or things like that could help? Do you want to tell me who that is, or shoot me an email, or we can coordinate?
I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your help and support.
Okay, anybody else on this topic?
I would just say that Albemarle County Social Services Court is sort of in the opposite dilemma than Charlottesville Social Services. Foster care numbers are way up, and we are down 2 foster care staff. We've also ended up having to, the county itself we're freezing positions. So when someone leaves, we can't hire. We get exceptions for mandated programs, but so now we're down a family support worker because these aren't mandated programs. So our workers in the schools, if they leave, at least at this point in time, we cannot refill them. And so we've lost 1 family support worker and 1 Bright Stars worker so far. So they are down staff as well. So we're struggling, I would say. We're not in a position. I mean, we're doing all we can just to get our stuff done. So that's where we are. We did bring on like 5 interns. We have lots of interns. Space isn't an issue right now. We don't care. We don't have to find a place to put them. Because our buildings are closed at least until November 9th. Our buildings won't even open. So all of our staff They come in some here and there, but generally speaking, everybody's teleworking. I think we have 10 core staff that are here.
Any other service provision during COVID times conversation? All right, well, the next thing on the list is chair. So usually every year the chair changes. So I've been doing it for not really a year because we haven't met. But I'm more than happy to let somebody else take over. So we'll just wanted to put it out there. And this is usually what it's like, even when we're in person. Nobody really
Yes.
wants to volunteer.
I feel like I'm still new enough. I'm learning. That's my excuse.
Yeah, and I won't be here until but the end of the year, and I'm going to leave my position, so I won't be available. So that's my
Where are
silence.
you going?
Wait, that feels like a news bomb. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Oh, people haven't heard the rumors.
I can barely keep
No.
my head above water, so I can't deal with rumors.
I've been actually talking about it for the past year that I'm going into semi-retirement.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but it's not going to be full-time at Region 10.
So you'll be at Region 10,
Congratulations.
just like a more of a part-time position?
No, I don't
No.
know. I don't know.
You
Just,
seem very relaxed about it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's especially hard to figure out the next steps during this time, right? So you have to come to some like just, just wait and see. But no, it's been my plan for some time. I felt like after 25 plus years in community mental health, it was time. So
Well, we're glad that you'll be with us until then, Crystal.
yeah, keep fighting the good fight till then.
Keep us posted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be that excited about doing it, but I honestly just can't think about taking like another responsibility on at the moment, given what schools look like currently. And there's a meeting that I now have to go to that's from 1 to 3 every Wednesday. So I will be jetting out, like when it's virtual, it's actually a lot easier. Because I just hung up on that call 30 minutes early and got on this one. I would definitely, and I know it's a year out, I'm willing to like take it the next time. I feel like we are in, and I know every agency is really struggling, or that's my guess, but I just feel like we're about to, it's been a hard summer with kids and families in schools and they're not really back. But if the last week is any indication, or 2 weeks with teachers back, of how adults and kids and families are going to be, like, I feel like I will be a terrible chair, to be frank, about like, I might remember to come to this meeting or not. So I can't do it, and I'm sorry. I'm learning to say no. So that's my like gift to myself this week.
And I also might not be
I'm not opposed.
anymore. Oh, go ahead, Krista. I'm just gonna say, I was just saying that Alice might be taking over for me. So I may or may not even be here, so.
And I was just gonna say, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, I guess, as far as chair goes.
I don't know that I do either, Krista. So.
I mean, I can lead a meeting and I can report out, but I guess I'm halfway volunteering and halfway not. I'll be here. I'll be around.
Sold.
Well, we could think about it and talk about it again next month if you wanted. I think for me, now that just things are so different and things are virtual, and I feel like we're dealing with such a different, I don't know, time for this population. When I started to think about like, what should our focus be really, I was definitely feeling a little stuck. You know, we had spent all that time on the mentoring, kind of that research project, and now that just doesn't seem as important, given everything that's going on. So, you know, I'm definitely fine. You know, Krista, if you wanted to, like, we could co-chair it together or something like that. If that would be make you feel, you know, kind of more comfortable, take turns. We've definitely done that in the past, but I definitely would be looking to you guys to wanting to know like how to make this like meaningful and helpful during this time, and not just, you know, a meeting for sure. So definitely would want some ideas around like how to focus. We did have some of you guys were there, but it had CPMT not a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. When was it? 2 weeks ago. And so I don't know that I got like any direction. It's not like they gave us anything specific to work on or anything like that. So I know that that's happened in the past. I mean, I'm guessing we still need to follow through with like some of the items on the work plan.
Yeah, and CPMT hadn't met in months either. So I think they're trying to get back on track with some of those things, like the data report, like where is that and what's going on with that, and their strategic plan and all of that. So I think that was part of it too. And maybe because their last meeting was kind of like a let's try this and see how this goes. And so maybe as they start to meet more regularly, some of those things are going to come up again. But I mean, I also think it's worth going back to CPMT and saying, you know, we spent a chunk of program talking about service provision and what that's looked like the past couple of months, and what some of, you know, our thoughts are about what might be coming up in the next few months. And, you know, we would like to focus on that. And just, you know, just to say, it seems like some of these other things are kind of at a standstill. And so, you know, I think it's worth having that conversation with them too, if that's the direction that we want to move in. And that makes more sense and is like worth our time more. And then pick up those other things once CPMT starts to start discussing those things again.
I'd like to put something on that to-do list. And that's, you know, seeing what we can do to dismantle systemic racism. You know, what are we doing as different programs, and how we can support each other on that. That's obviously an enormous task, but we've got some significant systems in place here. So I think that would be very rewarding and a great service to our community.
I like that. I think it kind of goes along with our trauma-informed initiatives too.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the county shared with us a training that we ended up finding really helpful. So I'm sure there's lots of other things just in terms of understanding just where that is, and then what can we do about it would be really valuable.
I wonder, because I think for the last number of months before we sort of shut down trying to just make sure everybody was safe. It feels like we were working on the mentoring, but like more long-term sustainable projects, right? Or services. And I just wonder, are we in September? So our next meeting will be October. And I guess part of me just wonders, like between now and when we meet again, can we all, like, I at least feel like from the school end, I know between now and October, I think I'm going to be getting hit in the face with a lot of acute needs. And so it's just hard for me. And I think you already said this, Jenny, like, I'll be honest, like I can't even think about or care about what we were working on for the mentoring situation. Cause for me, that's like any family who might need mentoring is like, that is awesome. Here's a phone number. Call and see if you can get that, right? Like, and not that it's not important, but you're like, that's way low on the list right now. But I do wonder if as program committee, can we, when we come back, be talking about what are, like, do we need to sort of take a more acute approach about what are the services or needs that we're seeing that keep coming up in a more systemic way? And I do think Julia brings up a good point. Like, are we looking at them, you know, are there services that are equitable? Are there things that we need to look at from a more racially or systematic perspective? And then do we have all those services? I mean, I think we probably know we don't, but are there ones that stand out that we could address more acutely, right? Like food banks, where initially, like we were struggling to figure out how to get people fed. Well, then the community stepped in and that got addressed pretty quickly. And, you know, the school and I think the county and the city are doing the same thing or something very similar. It's like lunch and breakfast are being served at the same time. Then who's stepping in to do weekend things? But like, at what point might that end? And let's not fool ourselves. We're going to still have kids and families who don't have enough to eat. I just wonder if, do we need to look at that or basic things, whereas before we've really been looking at bigger service provision, just based on what do we see over the next 30 days before we meet? Because I think we're all in agencies where we're going to see a bunch of stuff over the next 30 days that is potentially going to be more than what we, at a higher rate than what we've been seeing. And could we focus, I don't know, just think about talking about that. And then, yes, having to go back to CPMT and say like, yes, we know we need to focus on these long-term things, but that's not where our community is right now. When you talk to parents and you're like, what can I do to help you? At least what I've encountered mostly is they just want their kids to be helped, basic needs met, and can you do something to help my kids because I'm overwhelmed? Like they don't want to come to a parenting group. They don't want to, you know, it's like, not one more thing, I can't do it, but do something right now for this kid who is totally losing their cool. So things like that, I think would be worthwhile for us to try to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's great. And Jody, you did miss just like our part at the beginning. We did talk about like trends. No, it's fine. But just to let you know, we talked about trends with FAPT and the different type of requests. And that's what they all have been really, is those basic needs. I know we have more, the city has more families in hotels right now than we've ever had before. And it's not usually our practice to continue to pay for hotels. But with COVID, I just feel like I can't not pay. And so that's one of the things that, and we cannot come up, I mean, we are working really hard to try to come up with other solutions, but we, just because of COVID and the situations and the economy, just have not been able to figure it out. So I definitely would agree that that could essentially kind of lead our program topics and strategizing and really helping each other out while talking about the equity issue with you know, institutional racism and things of that nature too. And I think over the next month, we're really going to learn a lot with what school looks like. I mean, it's hard for me, even as a parent, to imagine what it's going to be like for my kids. And I know that that's what everybody's like. And so I think, Suzanne and Jody, you guys are going to be like a wealth of information to us, to helping us figure out like how we can, help these parents, because you're going to be right there. So I'm game for that. The things on the agenda, if you guys have that in front of you, is like, again, just doesn't seem important right now, but the case manager and provider input, maybe that will be a little bit important with service provision during this time, but data review, service gaps. I think we're naming them with the basic need piece. And the family engagement part, I just feel like is really how to make all this happen virtually, which people are honestly, I think, doing an amazing job, and much better than I thought it was going to go, at least on our end. But we were also talking, Jody, about like in FAP, just how people are participating more than before, which has been great. So those were that's the last section of our agenda. And then I guess trauma-informed services update for that. Again, I think we're all in kind of a place of trauma now. I think COVID has added a layer for sure. And so I know that there's some stuff going on, going around. Mary, I wasn't able to stay for the whole meeting for the TICN. So I don't know if like at the end of like our last meeting, if there was anything to share from that.
There was some talk about planning. They were planning the next meeting. Were you there for that? The next community meeting?
I think that's where.
Yeah, they were talking about, they were planning the next community meeting. And I don't remember quite what it was, Sarah Robinson was going to do something, I believe, but now I can't remember what. So that's not helpful.
But that'll be virtually, that meeting.
But it'll be virtual. Yeah, it'll be virtual.
So there are some things happening. I don't think it's as much as before, though. There was going to be a big conference and, things to really try to get different groups involved and up to speed on trauma-informed practice. And I don't think that's happening the way it was supposed to. All right. Any other business that we need to talk about that we haven't already talked about? All right, so I think I have a good understanding to report out to CPMT. Anything else that we want to bring up with them? I've got Jennifer and Katie, they're gonna meet regularly now, right?
That's the idea. Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
All right, anything else from anyone before we say goodbye? Well, good luck, everyone, especially the school folks. I know it's going to be extremely hard and difficult, and we're thinking of you, and let us know what you need and how we can help and support especially those families that we have in common. Yeah, I'll be in touch with you, Jody, on some ideas, and but just keep us up to date. and how it's going. All
Good luck.
right. See you next month.
Bye.
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 Bye.